A man lay crumpled against the concrete pillar, half covered in dust, his faded blue agbada, now the color of Harmattan earth. His white cap had rolled into the gutter. His beard was wild, his lips cracked and moving soundlessly. Danfo drivers honked past, Okadas swerved, and pedestrians stepped over him like he was just another piece of Lagos debris. Toby, 19 years old, skin still raw from carrying cement pans under the sun, squatted beside him. "Baba, can you hear me?" The old man's fingers scratched weakly at the air. A woman hissed as she passed. "This one will soon collect ritualist tag." "Oh," a trader laughed. "If police come now." "Nah, this small boy Demgo, hold." Toby heard everything, but the noise faded. He slid his arms under the frail body, lifted him like a child, and carried him to the roadside. People stared. Phones came out. Toby didn't know he was holding Chief Ezekiel Adalik, the long-lost father of Daniel Adalik, owner of Adalik Conglomerate, one of the richest men in West Africa. He only knew the man would die if he left him there. 2 years earlier, Toby's world had been small but full. He lived in a face mifisue in Ayij with his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Cunnell Martins, 2 teachers who owned nothing but love and stubborn hope. His father used to say, "Toby, money, fit finish, but good name no day expire." Then came the ghastly accident on 3rd Mainland Bridge. A tanker exploded. Both parents gone in one night. Uncles and aunties scattered like smoke when the burial cloth was removed. "You're big boy now," one uncle said, counting the condolence money. "Go and hustle." Toby used a little insurance money to write WAEC, came out with 8A1 South, and waited for the miracle that never came. So every morning he wore his yellow helmet, carried blocks at construction sites, and passed under that same Oyalegba bridge sharing his lunch, pure water, with whoever looked hungrier than he was. Today, the hungriest man in Lagos lay in his arms. He bundled the old man into a taxi with his last 1,200 naira and took him to the tiny room he rented in Mikoko stilts over dark water. One mattress, one stove, one bulb that blinked like it was tired of living. He laid the man down, ran to the junction, bought hot IBA and egusi with the very last cash in his pocket, and fed him by hand. The old man ate like a newborn, tears mixing with soup on his chin. Later that night, strength returned to his voice. "Young man, you saved my life. My name is Chief Ezekiel Adalik. I am the father of Daniel Adalik." Toby's spoon fell. "Sir, the Daniel Adalik, the one with the private jet and the tower in Vai." The old man nodded. "Kidnappers took me from my son's house in Ikuyi. They collected ransom twice, then dumped me on the road to die. I walked for 3 days." Toby's hands shook as he dialed the number the old man recited. A deep voice answered. "Who is this?" "Good evening, sir. My name is Toby. I think I have your father." Silence. Then a broken cry on the other side of the line. 30 minutes later, 3 Range Rovers stormed Makoko waterside like warships. Daniel Adalik himself ran into the small room, fell on his knees, and held his father like he was holding his own life. When he finally looked up at Toby, his eyes were red. "Pack your things. You're coming home with us." Toby stood frozen among his few belongings: 1 iron, 2 shirts, JAMB, past questions, and a framed photo of his late parents. "Sir, I only did what any person should know," Daniel cut in. "Any person walked past my father today. You carried him." Pakikui was another planet. Gates opened by themselves. Flowers smelled like money. Uniformed staff cried when they saw Chief Ezekiel alive. Toby was given a room so big he whispered good morning and heard echo. A soft knock came that first night. A girl in pajamas stood at the door, holding 2 cups of Milo. "Hi, I'm Amara. My dad said you saved my grandfather." Toby managed a shy smile. "I just couldn't leave him." She noticed the biology textbook under his arm. "You want to read medicine? More than oxygen," he answered. Amara's eyes lit up. "Me too." From that night, they studied together every day. Private tutors, midnight coffee, shared highlighters, laughter over silly mnemonics. Chief Ezekiel recovered fast and insisted Toby sit beside him at every meal. "You are now my son," he declared publicly. Then one rainy afternoon, Toby found an old family album in the library. He flipped a page and froze. A young Chief Ezekiel stood smiling, arm around a beautiful woman holding a baby. The woman was his mother, same eyes, same gap-toothed smile. On the back, faded ink, Mercy Adalik and baby Toby. 2004. Mercy Adelic, his mother's maiden name before she became Mercy Martins. He ran to Chief Ezekiel's room, album shaking in his hands. "Baba, this woman, this is my mother." The old man took one look and aged 10 years in a second. "Toby, Mercy was my daughter, my first child, from a woman I loved before I married Daniel's mother. Her family forced her to change her name. She never wanted you to grow up in this big money madness. She begged me to stay away." Toby's knees buckled. "So Daniel is my uncle, and Amara." Chief Ezekiel closed his eyes. "Your cousin." That night Daniel learned the truth over quiet tears and strong whiskey. "My nephew," he kept repeating, hugging Toby like a brother he'd lost and found. Amara heard it from her father and ran to the garden where Toby sat staring at nothing. "We're cousins," she said, voice small. He nodded, unable to speak. She sat beside him, close but not touching. Neither slept. Days became careful. Study sessions still happened, but laughter was measured. They spoke of kidneys and Krebs cycle, never of the way their hands once brushed and sent fire through both of them. JAMB came. They both scored 320 plus medicine, Unilag, top of the state. Celebration was quiet. Years rolled lectures, wards, sleepless calls, white coats. They graduated best students, side by side on the podium, clapping for each other while something inside both of them ached. Graduation night, under the same tree where they once revised pharmacology. Toby spoke first. "Amara, I've tried to kill this feeling for 6 years. I can't. I love you. I don't care what the world calls it," she cried. "I love you too." I never stopped. He went down on one knee, ring burning in his palm. "Marry me. Let us choose our own story." She said yes before he finished the sentence. Daniel fought board members, pastors, friends. "They are cousins." "Oh." He answered the same way every time. "That boy carried my dying father on his back when blood brothers looked away. If God wanted to stop this love, he had 6 years. He didn't." The wedding was simple, held at dawn on the beach in Tarkwa Bay. Only family, close friends, and the ocean as witness. Chief Ezekiel, frail but determined, walked Amara down the sandy aisle himself. When he placed her hand in Toby's, he whispered, "Now the circle is complete." They built a small house on the Adelic estate, close enough for Sunday jollof, far enough for their own laughter. Toby became a neurosurgeon. Aumara, Apaegiatricia. Together they opened Mercy and Connell Free Clinic in Arjags, treating the same kind of people who once walked past a dying old man. 4 years later, Amara ran into the theater where Toby was scrubbing for surgery. Tears and laughter mixed. "I'm pregnant." He dropped the brush, lifted her off the floor, white coat and all. 9 months later, twin girls were born, Mercy and Amara JNR. Chief Ezekiel held them once, smiled, and slipped away peacefully that same night, as if his only job left was to see the next generation before going home. At his burial, Toby spoke to a crowd of thousands. "I was the boy with nothing but cement dust on my head. One day I carried an old man, and I found a grandfather, an uncle, a wife, a purpose. Never walk past someone the world has forgotten. Your entire destiny might be lying there in the dust." Years later, every Christmas the whole family, Daniel, Toby, Amara, the twins, went back to Ojulegba flyover. They shared rice and chicken with anyone who would take it. And every year Toby paused at the exact spot, looked up at the sky, and whispered the same words. "Thank you for using my empty hands to carry my future." My friend, what is your take on this story? If you were Daniel, would you have given your blessing for Toby and Amara to marry? Where are you reading this? From Lagos, Abuja, PH, London, Atlanta. Drop your city. If this story touched you, share it. Someone needs to remember that one act of kindness can rewrite an entire bloodline. The twins, Mercy and Amara JNR, were now 10 years old, sharp-tongued, football mad, and already correcting their teachers on anatomy. Mercy wanted to be a pilot, so I can fly Grandma's spirit around the world. Amara JNR wanted to be a heart surgeon, because Daddy says the heart is the only organ that still beats when everything else is tired. The Mercy and Connell Free Clinic had grown into a full 200-bed hospital in Iaj. Every morning at 6 a.m., Toby and Amara still opened the gates themselves, white coats over Ankara, greeting patients by name. The walls carried huge murals of Chief Ezekiel and of Toby carrying him that day under the bridge. Underneath, in bold letters, If you were the one lying there, would you want the world to keep walking? Daniel Adlik, now grey at the temples, had handed the conglomerate to a board and spent his days as chairman of the Ezekiel Adlik Foundation. He still flew economy whenever he traveled for charity work, saying, "Private jet, no day cure poverty." One humid Harmattan evening in December, the family gathered for the annual Christmas giveaway under Oyalegba Bridge. Hundreds of people queued peacefully for rice, oil, clothes, and free medical checks. The twins ran around handing out sweets, their laughter louder than generator noise. Toby was attending to an elderly woman with malaria when a small voice behind him said, "Uncle Doctor, please come quick." He turned. A teenage boy, maybe 15, stood holding the hand of a little girl no more than 7. Advanced kidney failure. Toby's heart dropped. "Where are your parents?" The boy's voice cracked. "Mummy died last year. Daddy left. It's just us." The girl, Kioma, was burning with fever. Toby carried her straight to the mobile clinic van. Amara took one look and knew. This child had days, maybe hours, if they didn't act. They rushed her to the main hospital. Tests confirmed end-stage renal disease. Dialysis could buy time, but she needed a transplant. Fast. That night, the whole family sat in the private ward. Kioma slept, tiny and fragile, an IV dripping into her arm. The teenage brother, Emmanuel, refused to leave her side. Daniel looked at Toby. "Whatever it costs, we cover it." Toby nodded, but his eyes were on Amara. They both knew the truth. Money could pay for surgery, but Nigeria had almost no pediatric kidney donors. The national transplant list was years long. Amara went home, locked herself in the chapel room, and cried the way she hadn't cried since residency. Then she opened the old family album, the same one that had once shattered their world, and stared at the picture of Chief Ezekiel holding baby Toby. She whispered, "Grandpa, send us a miracle again." The miracle came wearing dusty sandals. 2 days later, a woman walked into the hospital reception carrying a nylon bag and a small nylon of pure water. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "I hear Una Day look for kidney for small pickin'," she said in pidgin. The receptionist called Toby. Her name was Bose. She sold roasted plantain under the same Oyalegba Bridge. 10 years ago, on the very first Christmas giveaway, Toby had treated her son for malaria, free of charge. The boy lived. She never forgot the young doctor who knelt in red dust to place a drip in her child's arm. "I hear the pickin' need kidney," Bose repeated. "I want test. If E-match, make Una take my own give AM." Tests were done that same day. Tissue plus match, blood group, HLA typing. At 7:12 p.m. the lab called. Perfect match. Bose didn't hesitate. "Doctor, that day you saved my son. I promised God say if he ever need anything from me, I go give AM. Today, the day." The surgery was scheduled for the following week. The night before the operation, Toby and Amara brought Kioma and Emmanuel to the family house for the first time. The twins instantly adopted their mercy, teaching Kioma how to play FIFA. Amara JNR, explaining why kidneys look like beans. Daniel cooked jollof himself, burning the bottom the way Chief Ezekiel used to. Laughter filled the house like it hadn't since the old man passed. Bose arrived with her own mother and 3 brothers. She signed the consent form with a thumbprint, smiling. "Make Una no worry. God day." The transplant lasted 9 hours. Toby assisted. Amara stood outside the theater door, praying in tongues she didn't know she knew. At 4:47 a.m. the lead surgeon came out. Both donor and recipient are stable. The new kidney is already making urine. The ward erupted in tears and shouting and speaking in tongues. 3 weeks later, Kioma ran down the pediatric corridor chasing Mercy and Amara JNR. Emmanuel, now enrolled in school and living with the family, carried Bose on his back like a proud son. Bose refused any money. Instead, she asked for one thing. "Let me continue selling my boli under the bridge, but give me small umbrella with the hospital name. When people ask why I get fine umbrella, I go tell them the story of the doctorway carry old man that day. The umbrella was made the same week bright blue, with the hospital logo and the words, 'Kindness is the real currency.'" A year after the transplant, on the 10th anniversary of the Christmas giveaway, Toby stood under Oyalegba Bridge again. The crowd was bigger than ever, thousands. Kioma, now healthy and chubby, stood on the stage holding Bose's hand. Emmanuel, in secondary school uniform, stood tall beside Toby. Toby took the microphone. 10 years ago, I was a laborer with empty pockets and a full heart. I carried one old man and found a grandfather. Today, one woman sold plantain under this same bridge and gave her kidney to save a child she didn't know. That is the real adult wealth. Not the towers in VI, not the private jets. This, he pointed to Kioma, waving to Bose under her blue umbrella, to Emmanuel smiling with new teeth, to Amara holding their twins, to Daniel wiping his eyes. Never forget, Toby said, voice cracking. The person the world is stepping over today might be the one carrying your miracle tomorrow. The crowd roared. Phones went up. But Toby only looked at the exact spot on the ground where Chief Ezekiel once lay. He knelt, touched the concrete, and whispered the words he said every year. Thank you for teaching me that the greatest inheritance is not money passed down, but kindness passed forward. Somewhere above, in the evening sky, now turning violet and gold, an old man with a gentle smile was surely nodding. And the story of the boy who carried a stranger became the story that Lagos parents now tell their children before they sleep. If you ever see someone fallen on the road, don't ask whose child they are. Pick them up. Your own future might be inside their pain. The end that keeps beginning, because kindness, once released under a Lagos bridge, never stops traveling.